Hello, my sweet and precious students. Welcome back. We are talking today, Algebra 1/2, Pre-Algebra, Saxon, 3rd edition. I'm on page 169. We're talking about fractions and symbols of inclusion. And I know you guys love fractions, so I cannot wait to go through these with you. We're just going to launch right into it. Example number 1 says 3/2, 1/4 plus 7/16 minus 1/8. All right, guys, we always do the stuff that's the garbage that's in our fractions first, right? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that still applies here. So we're gonna need to do this, but when we add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. Our common denominator for these, of course we could multiply them together and get a denominator. That's not gonna be the best choice here because that won't be the least common. Instead, what we can do is multiply 4 times 4, which will give us 16, and then we don't touch that other one, okay? So 3/2 is, and then 4/16 plus 7/16 minus 1/8. All right, so notice I'm always copying everything down and it's coming, whoa, and it's working like a funnel, right? That's the idea here. You want to work downwards so that it looks like this. Okay, so we're going to do this stuff that's in here first. So 4 plus 7 is going to give me 11, so I have 11/16. And now that I've done everything inside the parentheses, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my parentheses and just use a dot to indicate multiplication between these things. So 3/2 times that minus 1/8. When we multiply and divide fractions, we don't need a common denominator, which makes it a lot nicer. So this is 33, we just multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, over 32. Minus 1/8. Again, we need a common denominator. Fortunately, 8 goes into 32 4 times. So let's rewrite this guy, 33/32. You guys are not going to be saving trees when you're doing math. I'm so sorry. You will use a lot of paper, and I want you to. I don't want you trying to cram this into a little tiny box. You need to do the work like I'm showing you here, okay? 33 minus that gives me 29/32. I cannot reduce that any further. 2, 3, and 5 don't go into those, so don't go into both of them. So that's it. All right, example number 2. You'll notice that this is taking up like a good half sheet of paper, right? That's going to happen. Example number 2. What is up with my pencil? Pencil, drive me nuts. All right, there we go. Example number 2. We have 1/3, 3 1/4 minus 1/8 plus 1/48. Well, let's deal with just these fraction bits here. Have to have a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply this by 2, this by 2. We're going to bring everything else down. 1/3, 3 2/8 minus 1/8 plus 1/48. Notice I'm bringing everything else down. You're going to be writing a lot. This is how your problem needs to look. 3 2/2 minus 1/8, or I'm sorry, 2/8 minus 1/8. I was looking at the wrong problem. So we are going to get, well, if we have 2/8 and we take away 1, it's going to be 1/3 times. Now, because I'm doing everything in the parentheses, I'm going to just do it times and not do the parentheses anymore. It'd just be 3 1/8. I'm sorry for the pause there. I was trying to think of the best way to do this because you'll notice now that this is an a mixed number. And in order to multiply it by 1/3, we're going to have to turn it into an improper fraction. So in my head, I was sitting here thinking, should we do that back up here? Or nah, we can just, if you needed to, you could have done it here in order to be able to do the math on that. But that's fine. Either way, 1/48. All right, but now we're going to have to do it. So 1/3 times 8 times 3 is 24, plus that is 25/8 plus 1/48. All right, so we multiply straight across top, straight across bottom. We get 25/24 plus 1/48. We need a common denominator here. Common denominator, 48, because all I have to do is multiply this guy by 2. So what I end up with is, oh wait, that should have been 25 up there. Sorry, whoops. See, 25 times 1 is 25, not 24. So now I end up with 50/48, and that was a terrible 8, plus 1/48 equals 51/48. Okay, I'm just making sure. Now, 2, 3, and 5. We know 2 doesn't go into 51, so it can't go in. Let's try 3. 5 plus 1 is 6. 3 goes into 6. 4 plus 8 is 12. 3 goes into 12, so we can divide both the top and bottom by 3. When we do that, we end up with 17 over 16. That is our answer. I'm going to go back up here, box your answers, circle them, make it life easy for me, something like that. All right, that is it, actually. We're going to go ahead and do the, oh, wait, no, we got one more example. Example number 3. 2/5, and then we got a fraction. Oh, we got these brackets, right? Because we got brackets, and then we also have parentheses. We use those brackets as fancy parentheses. Oh, it helps if you copy the problem down, right? Minus 1/6, close out your parentheses, plus quantity, means parentheses, 1/3, plus 5 over 6. Great, we're gonna do the stuff that is in the parentheses first. So let's find a common denominator for both of those at the same time. The common denominator here is gonna be 6. So all I have to do is multiply that by 2, that by 2, okay? Same thing over here, common denominator is gonna be 6, so I'm gonna multiply this by 2, this by 2. Rewrite your problem, so you end up with 2 over 5 brackets, and we have parentheses 4 over 6 minus 1 over 6 plus 2 over 6 plus 5 over 6. All right, let's do the stuff that's in those parentheses first. We are going to bring everything else down, so 2 over 5 brackets. Now, 4/6 minus 1/6 gives me 3 over 6, okay? Plus, and notice I took it out of the parentheses now that I'm done. Good, plus 5, 6, 7 over 6. Beautiful. So we're going to do everything that's in those brackets now. Now, notice I have the brackets, but I don't have any parentheses on the inside. That's totally fine. Sometimes that happens, okay? So we're going to do 2/5 times, that's going to be 10 over 6. 10 over 6. And we can reduce that down, but in the meantime, what we can also do is, if I divide this by 2, I get 1. Divide this by 2, I get 3. Divide this by 5, I get 1. Divide this by 5, I get 2. So upstairs I have 1 times 2, which gives me 2. Downstairs I have 1 times 3, which gives me 3. Beautiful. All right, pause the video. Do the practice problems that are on the bottom of the page here. If you don't have the book in front of you, there are the practice problems. You can pause it and do those. And then come on back. Okay, so practice. Remember, if you're not doing your practice problems on your homework, it needs to be on your notes. All right, so for A, we have 3 over 4 brackets, 4 over 5 minus 1/2, parentheses, plus, parentheses, 1 over 6 plus 1 over 3, parentheses, bracket, bam. Okay, so our common denominator for this guy here is going to be, we got to do the stuff in the parentheses first. That's why I launched right into this and into this. So we're going to multiply this by 2, and we got to multiply this by 5, because our common denominator is going to be 10. Okay, we're going to multiply, 6 and 3. We don't need to do anything to the 6. We'll just multiply this guy by 2 and this by 2. So we end up with 3 over 4, 8 over 10, parentheses, I almost forgot that part, minus 5 over 10, plus 1 over 6, plus 2 over 6. Okay, so now we have 3 over 4, brackets, 8 minus 5 is 3 over 10, and because I'm done with the stuff in the parentheses, I took it out, plus 3 over 6. All right, well, we can reduce this guy down, right? So that's going to give us 1/2. So we have 3 over 4, and then 3/10 plus 1/2. Now, again, because we're adding, we need a common denominator. I'm going to multiply this guy by 5 and this guy by 5. 3 over 4, 3/10 plus 5/10. Beautiful. I like it. Okay, so, and then in this case, we end up with 3 over 4 times 5 plus that is going to be 8 over 10. Let's do some reducing here. If I divide this by 4, I get 1. Divide this by 4, I get 2. Divide this by 2, I get 1. Divide this by 2, I get 5. So I end up with 3 times 1, which is 3, over 1 times 5, which gives me 5. Now, if you don't cross cancel before you multiply, you would just multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, but then you have to reduce your fraction. Always reduce. All right, so let's throw b right in over here. 1/4, 2 1/2 minus 1/7 plus 1/28. All right, so we've got 1/4, and then let's turn this guy into a mixed number. That's going to be 5. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that's going to be 5/2. So it's 5/2. Notice I'm just writing it up there to make my life a little bit easier. No, we'll do it down here. I want you to show all your work. 5/2 minus 1/7 plus 1/28. Excellent. 1/4. Now we need a common denominator in here, right? So we have 2 and we have 7. That's a little 7. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 7, multiply that guy by 7, multiply this by 2, this by 2. So I end up with 35/14 minus 2/14 plus 1/28. Okay, so we have 1/4 times 35 minus 2 is going to be 33/14, and because I'm done with the parentheses, I took those out, plus 1/28. All right, so we multiply straight across the top, we get 33. Making sure I got these right. Yep, just making sure. Okay, 33/14 times 4, 56, plus 1/28. All right. Okay, so 28 is actually half of 56. So we can multiply this guy by 2 and this by 2. And what we end up with is, pardon my small writing here, 33/56 plus 2/56 equals 35/56. We can't divide this by 2, or I'm sorry, we can't divide this one by 2, we can't divide this one by 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 does not go into 8, so 3 is not going to go into this. So, oh, but 7. So 2, 3, and 5, sometimes 7. Divide this by 7, divide this by 7, we end up with 5/8. 5/8. This is why it pays to know your sevens, right? All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, great work, and I will see you in class.